The only option we have is to stay super, super, super organized. So that's what we do. Whose job is it? When does it get done? How does it happen? The most important part is how is it all communicated to the attorneys, to the bankers, to the sellers, to the brokers, to the insurance agents, to the vendors, to the contractors, to the employees, and to the customers. All of these people need to be kept in the loop. I have closed on 14 self-storage facilities in the last 6 months, $25 million worth of storage. In the middle there, we had some stressful closings. And what do I mean by a stressful closing? I mean, we are rushing to get the investor packet out to raise the money, or we are rushing to get the final rent roll and the proration done right before closing, or we're rushing and hoping to set a closing date and our attorneys are up until 10 o'clock having a meeting the night before closing, any other number of things. And operationally, after closing, we've had collection calls get half done, and then we move on to the next closing because there's no system in place. We've had our customer service reps input a bunch of data. We had to go back, change the bill date, or add money to the invoice, or whatever it might be. Let me tell you something. 14 closings in the last 6 months. The last one went like this. It was easy. It was streamlined. It was stress-free. The closing date was set a week in advance. All the proration was done. All the money was in the account the day it needed to be. The LP docs went out at the right time. The money was raised at the right time. The pre-screen call with the seller went off without a hitch right after purchase and sale agreement, and the second one 2 weeks before closing to discuss the tenants and discuss everything to make sure that closing day was stress-free. All the utilities were transferred over. Everything happened seamlessly. If you are going to build a real estate private equity company, if you are going to become a professional in this space, closing your deals in a professional manner is a must. So I'm looking at right here, we had a meeting today of a new property closing and transaction process. And we have 2 sections for every single property that we buy. There's 2 sections, 2 tabs on this document: before close, after close. And it starts with the day the LOI is signed, a letter of intent. That's first. The day that's signed, we have a process before that with all of our acquisitions team on gathering data, underwriting, sending offers, following up, all these different things. Talk about that in another episode. As soon as that letter of intent is signed, it is input into our system, and that is day 0. Day 1, we send an introduction email to all parties that give a timeline estimate for the sellers that make us look super professional because it's what we are going to do. It is managing expectations. It's telling them what we need, when we need it, when we're going to have meetings, when we're going to be on site, how everything is going to work throughout the closing process. And then the days start ticking. Day 0, day 1, day 2, day 3, through scheduling the inspectors, to having the owner fill out a questionnaire, to sending out due diligence request, to doing pictures and videos for the site visit, from all the way down to right before closing, me recording a Loom video of our property for our remote customer service reps to understand the property so that we can manage it. All of it is organized and set up in place so that it happens automatically. Building that system is going to be critical for you. And you can tell when you're working with professionals in this business and when you're not, because the professionals, they have this stuff down. There are no surprises. There are no stressed out meetings. There are no unforeseen circumstances. You knock out, in the first 5 days of due diligence, we already knock out whether or not it's in a floodplain. We already knock out who's going to pay for the survey. We already knock out all these potential things that have popped up in our previous deals that either lead to upset people or problems. Who gets back rent? One owner got really upset at us for trying to collect a bunch of rent that was owed to him before closing. He kept trying to collect old rent from all of our customers. It was a nightmare. Obviously now all that stuff is laid out in the contract of what exactly is supposed to happen. So I'm going to encourage you as a real estate professional to build out your systems. I have 4 different columns. Column A, what it is, send the due diligent request. Items requested, I have a link to the drive. Who is responsible? The person that needs to do it. The days from purchase and sale agreement signature, meaning how many days after purchase and sale is this document going to be required, and whether or not it's done. And this goes all the way down through getting vendors in place, getting quotes for snow removal, getting our insurance bound, getting all of this stuff done so that there are no ifs, there are no questions, there's nothing that falls through the cracks, there's nobody that forgets to do anything. And then on closing day, the operational checklist starts. Well, it's actually already been in motion, but the operational checklist starts. We're going to do our first round of evictions. We're going to send out our voicemail drops. We're going to send out our mass text messages. We're going to do all the things that make our life really easy after closing to seamlessly roll that property right into our management. Now, this business, what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do, and you are kind of following along in real time, it can be really stressful if you let it get really stressful. You can have the money not there, in time to close. You can have people upset about this or that. You can be rushing. Your attorneys can be blowing it. You can have unforeseen things, and it takes time. It takes experience. You can't just build out these processes day one, but you can try to not let anything slip through the cracks. We've got 18 employees. We'll have more soon. We're hiring, I think, one tomorrow. I'm losing track of how many employees we have. The only option we have is to stay super, super, super organized. So that's what we do. Whose job is it? When does it get done? How does it happen? The most important part is how is it all communicated to the attorneys, to the bankers, to the sellers, to the brokers, to the insurance agents, to the vendors, to the contractors, to the employees, and to the customers. All of these people need to be kept in the loop. The only thing that causes people to be pissed off is lack of communication. They do not like surprises. They don't like an expectation set of XYZ and actually happening ABC. It's the only thing they don't like. If there's a problem and you notify them as soon as there's a problem, nobody's ever mad. Nobody's ever upset. Nobody's ever threatening to walk on a deal. And if you can navigate and guide through acquisitions or selling or refining or whatever the event is, if you can navigate that stuff in an extremely professional manner so that it's like clockwork. These brokers over here, they know that as soon as Nick and Bolt Storage go under contract on a self-storage facility, it's like clockwork. They're going to tell us what's going on. They're going to tell us who's going to do what, and everything's going to be super, super organized, and everybody's going to be happy. People love dealing with us. Sellers love dealing with us. We bought a big property in a small New York, upstate New York town, and about 6 days after closing, we get a call from a competitor in town, another facility. Hey, I heard you guys closed on blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm really good friends with him. He told me that you guys were good to work with. We're thinking about selling. Could you make us an offer? That property we're going to close on in about 2 weeks. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. And once you become a professional and once you prove that you're a professional, people like working with you, and the flywheel that is real estate momentum builds. Closing that first property is the hardest. Talk all the time about how the more you're doing, the more deals you do, the more deals you get to see, the more money you make, the more LPs that make money with you, the easier it is to raise future money, the easier it is to get bank debt, the easier it is to see more deals, the easier it is to buy more storage, the easier it is to hire more employees. The bigger you get, the easier it gets. Real estate is very much a snowball rolling down a hill. The first one is hard because you don't know what the hell you're doing. You don't know how to underwrite the deal. You don't know how to send an LOI. You don't know how it works. And here is the big problem that people mess up with. They assume that sellers have it all together and that sellers know what's going on. We find all the time, especially when we're buying an off-market deal, sellers just don't know how it works. They've never sold a property before. They're just a self-storage owner in one small town. They don't know what it's like to sell a self-storage facility or any kind of property. And brokers, as soon as they get a deal under contract, they want to do as little work as possible and go try to find more deals. So they're not going to run point. They're not going to run lead and tell your attorneys what to do. You, as the buyer, need to be leading the entire thing. And if you're selling, you can let the buyers run, but you need to make sure that they're on top of their stuff. The most important person in my team, aside from our operations team, is my attorney. My attorney is very good. He knows our systems. He knows what's expected. He knows the timelines. He knows how to look at these documents on who's supposed to do what leading up to closing, if we've got the insurance bound, if we've got everything done. So that's an important part for you. And if you're just now navigating this stuff at the very beginning, it's really tough. It's really tough. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. Shoot, just a year ago, we were about to close on a piece of property and we were a couple days away from our due diligence period ending and our money going hard, our $50,000 deposit on a piece of property going hard. We were 2 days away from that when we found out that it was in a flood zone, that our property was in a flood zone. That would have been really, really easy for us to figure out if we had our head out of our butts, which we do now. So get serious about building a system, become a professional, and your momentum will shift and you will start to win. Juniper Square, the sponsor of our show, recently did a capital raising survey. And in this survey, they asked 142 senior executives at US-based commercial real estate firms a series of questions to understand the state of commercial real estate fundraising. It's an insanely valuable report with data on questions like, how much capital did you raise last year? How long did your last raise take? What type of investors are you raising the most from? And what strategies are working the best for you to find new investors? Download this report for free at junipersquareresearch.com. That's junipersquareresearch.com. Big thank you to Juniper Square for sponsoring the show. Thank you for listening to The Nick Huber Show. Just wanted to remind you that we have a paid real estate community where some really special stuff is happening. People are breaking down deals. People are networking. People are I think even formulating partnerships inside this group. We have over 100 members now. For more information, you can visit sweatystartup.com/REC. And the first 299 members of the group, to get some momentum, get $200 off the annual membership using the code FIRST299, FIRST 299. And also you can check it out for 5 days for $1. You make a $1 payment, you can check out the community for 5 days. Highly recommend it if you're serious about bringing in some other people into your network, into your life, to help you become a better real estate investor.